So to begin, I'm Victoria Fabo. I am with Fabulous Foods with Victoria Fabo. I have my own cooking show. Part of it is that I go to different restaurants and I'm showcasing what the restaurants have to offer. Haitian, El Salvadorian, Mexican, Nepali restaurants. Anyone who wants to be on, I'm really excited. I would love to have you. I also have a cooking show where I love to cook and showcase food. So that's why I'm really excited to be connecting with Connecting Pieces tonight, because I'm a registered dietitian and I love to cook and bake. And I really want to help those who have gastrointestinal disorders and really hone in on how to feed your body and nourish you well. So with that said, we're going to be doing 3 dishes today. I have a lentil bean soup going on. It's cooking right now, but I'm going to show you the basics. And then we're going to do a saffron cranberry rice. And then for dessert, we're going to do a poached pear apple with cinnamon and nutmeg, maple syrup, and yumminess. Okay. So, I hope everyone can hear me still. Thumbs up if you can. That'd be great. And I really hope that you guys can throw out any questions. So, I really want to make this interactive. I have someone who can read the questions out loud to me, and I would really love that to get some feedback. So, to start, let's just start by sauteing onions. So, if you can come on in, I'm going to put a pan on, and I'm going to just put it on like a medium, okay? So I'm going to do that for both. So people might get a little intimidated if they have so much to do at once, right? So I try to break it down a little bit. You can have a couple of pots going on the stove at once, and don't be like too afraid, okay? So this pan is going to just be for the sauté of onions for the rice, and then this pan is going to be sautéing of onions for our stew, okay? Now I want to get the pans heated up first. And I did actually heat them before we went live, just so that they could be heated up a little bit. So there's that. Now I get olive oil and I always cook with it. Some people say a teaspoon or something. I just put a little extra sometimes. And I find that okay. Feel free and always adjust things how you see fit. Okay. So olive oil is going. Now, while the olive oil is cooking, we really want to make sure that it is heating up nice and evenly. So I try to move the pan around so that the heating is even. Okay? And if the oil is moving quick in the pan, then you know it's heated and ready to go. So like I said, I had heated the pans up ready, so they're good. Okay. And the really great thing about olive oil, it's a monounsaturated fat, right? So that's really good because it helps to really make sure that we're not adding so much cholesterol like saturated fat can be. The monounsaturated fat is really great. All right, so there's that. I chopped up an onion and I'm splitting it in half. So I'm going to do half in the rice and half in the stew. Something to be mindful of and consider too is it's okay to make for one person some days, right? Sometimes you're used to cooking for a lot of people, but we're just going to practice on just cooking for a small. All right, so you hear that sizzle. I'll turn up the heat maybe just a little bit more. And then I'm going to put it here. Again, hearing that sizzle, so I know I'm doing well. Okay. All right. So for our rice, I have already had it going because I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time watching rice cook. So I have rice cooking. Now I'm just going to stir the oil with the onions well. And I think that's the nice thing about I think the best thing about onions is that if it cooks long, it's really great. And that's a great thing, definitely, especially with gastrointestinal diseases. It was where we have to cook the food a little bit longer. So we're going to go ahead and let that cook. Now, I also wanted to make poached pear apples. So when I was in baking school at Johnson & Wales, that was one of the first dishes that they really thought we should be more sophisticated when we eat fruit. I think that's pretty valid, right? Sometimes people just eat fruit or don't eat fruit, but if you cook it, it can be really enjoyable and pleasurable, okay? So with that said, what I've done is, so I kept this pan. There's no point of wasting the sugar and cinnamon because I already cooked it to be done. I don't want to waste any extra seasonings, okay? So I cut up the pears and apples, the pear apple, and I wanted to make them a little smaller so they'd cook quicker. And I added water just enough for them to cover. And then what I do, give me just a moment. Let me saute my onions. Okay. All right, back in a pull motion, right? So when you're sauteing, you just give a gentle pull. You want the onions up close against the wall, and you can just give a gentle push back. This is just something fun that you can practice when you see the chefs do it in the kitchen. Okay? So these guys are coated really well. I'm just going to turn up the heat a little bit more. This pan's a bit bigger, so it might just need a little more heat today. Okay. So, I have here, you can use whatever spices you might like. Be mindful if anybody has any allergies. I know some people can have allergies to cinnamon. But I put in here cinnamon, nutmeg, and that other yummy one that we like so much. Cinnamon, nutmeg, clove. Okay, so I put cinnamon, nutmeg, and clove in here. And so I just let it cover. So you can see that once this will start boiling, it'll be really nice. I hope you guys enjoyed my makeshift purple table. I did. Alright, so I put vanilla extract in. Because we're baking, we want something nice and sweet, right? Now, I love honey and I live by honey. Honey is really good. A lot of people don't always think about it, but some people say that honey, if you eat local honey, it will help with the allergies that are soon to come. So I always really recommend people doing that. And 'tis the season, right? Everybody's getting sick. So the more honey that can help, it can help with your throat if you have a sore throat or anything. So I just mix that in. Alright, so the onions, I'm just going to keep mixing. My rice that's cooking, I'm just going to lower it down. Don't feel intimidated. It might seem like a lot's going on, but I just have 2 pans going and with onions, okay? Okay. Now, recently, I just went to Canada for the first time, so I excitedly got Canada maple syrup. So, I'm going to add that for some extra sweetness, because we already have the spices. And people don't think of it often, but spices really are helpful to help with our immune system, right? And to make things flavorful. Everybody thinks just add salt and pepper to things or just sugar, right? But we can actually enhance the flavor by adding fun spices. Okay. A little or a lot, you can decide. Okay. So what I do is I just give it a good mix. Now, really, what is the definition of poaching, right? So the definition of poaching, let me just turn this down. Alright. So you see they're coming together. They're still not translucent, which is my goal for it, but that will happen shortly. These I'm going to turn down the heat. I don't want them to brown too much. I want them to really become translucent. Okay. If they brown, that's okay. But for today, I don't want it to. Okay, so what's the definition of poaching with apples? Or any fruit, right? So boiling is when you get the temperature of 212, right? So it's called a rolling boil, okay? When you're poaching, you want it to come gently to a boil, so it can come to 212. Then you want to put it on low and just let it simmer. Some people will only have it come to a simmer and just let it cook like that very slowly, which is the idea of poaching, right? You want to just let it slowly cook, and it can be for a great length of time. And you can do it till it's pork tender, which is really great. And some people may even want it to be cooked a little bit longer. So for the poached apple-pears, it really cooked for over an hour on a slow simmer, which is great. because this can be cooking on the back stove and just let it cook while I'm cooking everything else, right? So then dessert's already done. So that's something that's really great and mindful. And I always remind people that you want to at least have 2 fruits a day, right? So if you're having fruit to dessert, it can still count, right? I didn't put any extra sugar in there, maple syrup to sweeten it, and honey. But those are actually, you know, from the plant source, right, itself, and from bees. So I think that's a really good positive. Okay, so now that we've had the onions cooking for a little bit, I'm going to add some garlic and carrots. So I'm going to go ahead and add the garlic here. And then, excuse me, I've had the onion still going here. Okay. I'm not gonna lie with you. I didn't set up the extra cranberries. I have them nicely in here. But if you just give me a hot second, I'm gonna grab them. Thank you. Okay, hot second is back. Thanks for your patience, everyone. So, I'm putting the cranberries in here straight. Why? Because they're just going to go ahead and cook. Another option to get fruit in our diet. People are a little hesitant with fruit, but that's why I wanted to show you that you can put fruit for dessert, but also with your rice, so it can be a savory as well. So we're going to keep letting that cook. You'll see how it will all come together. Alright, I'm going to mix up the garlic and onion in here so you can see that it's cooking up. Okay. So I have a question. Is honey with another form of sugar? So honey is another form of sugar, but because it's plant derived, it doesn't necessarily increase your glycemic index quickly, which people worry about. And then cooking the vegetable, what are the benefits of cooking the vegetables longer? That's a good question. Cooking the vegetables longer is really beneficial for those who have gastrointestinal disease. Why? Because the fibers are being broken down through the cooking process, which is really important, right? And that makes it more smoother and easier for our body to digest. Though, some will say, but as I will have a counterpart to, if the food's cooked too much, you're losing too much nutrients. So, my counter to that is, if you don't eat it at all, are you getting the nutrients, right? Some people say, I won't eat carrots at all. Well, but I'll eat them when they're cooked, but I know I won't get as much nutrients. Well, like you just said, if you're not going to eat them at all, you're not going to get the nutrients. So if you eat them a little cooked, it'll be fine. Alright, that's still cooking. So that looks pretty great, the garlic and everything. And now the cranberries are going to be cooking too. Another question is, I love baking apples and pears with ghee and cinnamon in the winter. Definitely. So you can definitely add ghee if you'd like. Ghee is just clarified butter. I think it's so cool, and you can make ghee, so clarified butter, by straining the milk solids out. So when you're heating up the butter on the stove, you can separate the milk solids, and you have ghee, so it's clarified butter. So that's really great. Or if you need to, you can buy it. It's really good too. Alright. Because the carrots cook a little bit longer, I cut them up and I dice them ready to go. I'm going to put them in our stew. Okay. Now, at this point, some people might want to add some other vegetables. You could add potatoes or celery, but I'm not going to add that today. Okay. Now, with my carrots and onion and garlic, I have curry sumac. Does anybody know what sumac is? It's really fun. It's a nice herb that Middle Eastern cuisine uses a lot. So there's turmeric, salt, paprika, chili powder, and sumac in here. So we're just going to let the spices toast. So what we want to do when we're toasting the spices, right, we're actually enhancing the flavor. Okay. Now, for our rice dish, we're going to put sumac in as well, and we're going to put turmeric. Oh, excuse me. This had sumac and curry. The rice has sumac and turmeric and salt. Okay. So, I'm going to give those a good mix. Alright, great questions, everybody. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. So I'm just going to give that a mix. We're only going to let that toast for a minute or two, okay? Okay. Going to mix my rice. It smells so nice, everyone. Really excited. I love the smell of turmeric. I know I'm going to be feeling well soon. Right? That's the nice thing about turmeric too. It is anti-inflammatory, right? So if you have, everybody in any way has inflammation in their body. So if we add turmeric to our diet, it helps slow down inflammation in our body. All right. And sumac is used and put on food actually sumac is put on food, so it's actually good for metabolism. Right? So it's supposed to help with the digestion process. So that's why I've added these ingredients in too. Oh, and cumin. I can't forget about cumin. I really enjoy adding cumin to food just to get a little kick out of it. Okay. Now, you can have these carrots cooked for at least 10 minutes if you want. I kind of already par-cooked them a little bit. So what that means is that I just had them cooked in water first. And then what we're going to do is add the vegetable broth and beans and lentils soon. Thank you. Okay. Alright. So our onions and cranberries, I'm going to let them cook for just one more minute because they're actually going to get mixed in with the rice, and I'll show you how. I'm just going to turn up the heat so that they can cook a little bit more. What can you use if you don't have sumac or turmeric is a question. That is a good question. Does it smell? Oh, yes. This smells really good. So, like I said, I love the smell of turmeric. I'm trying to think. I'm going to think how I can describe them to you. So this is a good question. And if you don't have sumac or turmeric, I recommend, turmeric. You can get at any store. So this is the fun part. If you go down different aisles, you will find different bottles and different pricing. So sometimes if you go in the international section in the grocery store, you'll find turmeric and sumac readily, easily, at a larger quantity for a cheaper price. So that's a good tip to use. Sumac you can get at different Middle Eastern stores that you want. I go to my local Persian store in Watertown and I grab sumac there. If you don't have it and it's not readily available, you can add more paprika or chili powder in. And if you want more of a kick, you can add red pepper flakes in too. So that's a good question. Keep them coming, please. Thank you. All right, any more questions perhaps? Okay, not at the moment. That's great, keep it coming. All right, so this is still gonna cook. Now we just want it to come together. And you'll see when we cook it with the rice, we can add it right now. But first, I'm going to add in the vegetable broth and the beans and turmeric so we can have that cooking, okay? Thank you. Okay. So here I have lentils. Underneath I have beans and I have water to cover it. So about 6 cups of water for about a can of beans and a cup of lentils. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in. Okay. Excuse me. Thank you. And then I have an extra cup of water here. Okay, so we just want that to be, we want it to be completely submerged. Okay. So I'm just gonna get a spoon and mix it all together and it'll be good. Okay. Again, you might say, Victoria, that doesn't seem like a lot, but remember I'm just trying to make it a small quantity. Another question, can we cook this recipe in a slow cooker or a pressure cooker? Definitely. If you don't have the time, it is. So this dish is called, this is a lentil bean dish that you're looking at right now with carrots, onions, and garlic. And then over here, actually, while my stew's cooking, I want to remind people, whenever you make a stew or a soup, feel free to add in a bay leaf. People don't, maybe not add them readily, but definitely add them. They're kind of a chef's classic staple. So I'm just actually going to add in 2 bay leaves. And they really enhance the flavor. Now, before you eat it, of course, you take the bay leaves out. If you want to immersion blend the soup or put it in a blender, that's great to do too. And then you just will take the bay leaves out because you don't want them in your soup. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and mix our rice together. You guys are doing great. Thanks for hanging around with us. Okay. So I went ahead and just cooked the rice with water. Now, you see how it's still moist? That's okay. We're going to keep cooking it. But what we're going to do first is add the cranberries to it. Okay. Okay. And then the special ingredient we're going to be adding is saffron. So I used a spice grinder, but I'm not always successful when I don't have a large quantity in mind. But if you have a muddler, that's great too, because the saffron, you want it to be a lot more smoother. And then you're going to add hot water to it. The hot water extracts the flavor to it, and it gives us this nice gold, orange color, right? So we're going to go ahead and add that to our rice. Okay. Oops, sorry. Thank you. All right. Now we're going to give it a good mix. And then we're actually going to go ahead and let this just cook all together for a little bit longer. Okay, you can see that the saffron makes the rice a nice orange color. Okay, and that's really great. I think everyone's getting a little hungry now. Come on over, it'll be here. Or I can't wait to see photos of you guys doing it. Alright, so I'm going to turn my heat back on. Okay. I'm just going to have it on a low-medium heat. And in Persian culture, they call it tadi, which it means it's going to get crispy on the bottom. You can do that, or you can just let it be, regular pilaf style if you want. Choice is yours. Okay. Alright. So, I'm just going to remove this pan. Feel free to look at our stews and see how they're doing. Okay. Hey everyone. Don't mind my back. Alright. I'm just going to put on the apple so that you can see what this process is like. So like I said, you can get it to a boiling first or just do a slow simmer the whole time. Alright, so that's cooking. This is cooking. Guys, what questions can I help answer for you? Another question is, can you substitute the rice? Can you substitute the rice for other grains like couscous? Definitely. The nice positive thing about couscous is that it actually takes a lot quicker to cook. Couscous is a pasta, so it's not a grain like rice. Couscous is pasta, and you just boil the water, you add the couscous, you put a lid on top, and it cooks within 3 minutes. So that's really nice. Now, another question is, what is saffron good for health-wise? Well, something that I've been told is that it's really good for your skin. Okay, so kind of like rose water is really good for your skin, but more specifically, I might have to come back to you on that one, but good question. All right, stew's going, rice is going, apple and beans. So saffron has been told that it's good for cardio health. It's like an anti-inflammatory, anti-hypertension. It's actually good for helping with sleep and weight maintenance. So that's a really good question. It's very good for your skin. Okay. Now that we're doing this, so I'm really excited to do this because I know how much this project means to Kayla, her charity. So I really want to thank Kayla for this opportunity. We got to cook once before, and that was really awesome time too. We made some smoothies. So thanks Kayla again, and I really appreciate being here. Always guys, feel free to ask me questions if you have any questions at the end. And if you want to connect later, we can too. Okay, so the stew's a roll and boil now. So we could just lower that down to ourselves, okay? Our rice, I'm just gonna mix it because it sounds like it's cooking well. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Okay. All right, so now I just want to show you guys a couple more things, and we're gonna do that. So I'm just gonna tell you guys we're gonna have this stew, but I have a finished one in the back, so I just want to show it to you. Don't mind me. Okay. I may clean up later, don't worry. Okay. Alright. So this is our stew. So it didn't get a skin over it. But you see how it's thickened and it's come together nicely? And you can let this cook for as long as you want, okay? And that's really what's nice about it. You can add potatoes to it too if you want. Okay. So this is our rice and how we're doing. Okay. Now, what I want to show you is I have the rice already done, so I just want to show you guys that. I'm going to turn these off the heat. Thank you. Don't mind my back. So this is what the rice looks like when it all comes together, okay? So you can see the onions, you can see the cranberries, but they've been cooking well. And then we have our poached apples. So you can go ahead and add some yogurt to it, even some ice cream, right? And you can see how it just cuts, right? So that's the really nice thing. If you want, you can take the skin off if you don't feel comfortable eating the skin. But you can see that it's cooked for over an hour. So you can maybe try a little bit and test that out. Okay. So, bon appetito, guys. I really appreciate this. And thanks again, Kayla, and Connecting Pieces for having Victoria, Fabulous Food with Victoria on. So enjoy, and let me know if you guys enjoy it as much as I do. Thanks, everyone. Bye.